And that's what a Subaru sounds like in Australia. Alright. Oh, I'm just kidding with you guys. Alright, so here we have a roof basket. Right now we're working on a 2005 Subaru Outback. The model designation specifically for my car is the Elebian edition with the 3.0. But if you're doing a roof basket for these cars, is if you have a legacy wagon, not all of the legacy wagons, which is the lowered version, you know, sedan, more sedan style of this vehicle. If you get the legacy wagon, it'll have, you know, the wagon style, but some of them don't come with roof racks, or if they do, they'll be the slimline roof racks. So keep that in mind when you're making your purchase, you know. Ask people if you can. So right here's your first piece. This is gonna be, you know, your wind guard. Now this basket's pretty neat as far as like how big it is. The cool thing about this basket is this one's going to be kind of pretty wide for the car, so it's going to give it a much more boxy stance, which was my, you know, that's going to definitely be helpful with the design and aesthetics of it. So we have a box here with all the equipment in it. This should be pretty straightforward. Everything should be there. This is a TMS one-piece top roof rack. If you're, you know, mainly using this for aesthetics, as am I, and for partial functionality on occasion, like when you're on trips and whatnot, this is definitely, you know, the buyer's choice. And another thing, having the 3.0 will, you know, make this a little more accurate for the title. So it's not sticking a V6 sticker on a 4-cylinder, you know. This is gonna reflect the car's personality a little more accurately. So here you're going to be your roof rack clamps. These are going to be the most essential parts. You're going to check for missing bolts, anything like that. People return these things all the time. Honestly, you're stupid. You're going to spend, a lot of places charge money for a return shipment, especially if it's online, because they're heavy, big boxes. They take up a lot of space on trucks, which is why they usually charge. A lot of people don't know why they charge for that stuff. No. So we have a little bit of figuring out to do on some of these parts for assembly. I'm thinking these are for the back or the front. These actually are probably going to be a good mounting point for things like accessory lights and stuff. If you have off-road lights, or you have side lights you want to use for floodlights, because a lot of people purchase these things for work trucks and stuff like that, or off-road Jeeps, and you know, you're off-roading, you want to see trees around you and stuff. So those are probably really useful for things like that, mounting it up without having to interfere a whole lot with the, you know, making and modifying. They kind of give you that option out of the box, because they already know who their market is. And I believe these are just extra tie down bars and clamps. I'm not exactly sure what they are for. It might have something to do with if you have a different type of roof rail. Once again, I recommend putting the small metal parts on top of the cardboard. Concrete scratches paint really easily, a lot more than you think, especially if you kick it around by accident. This gives it a chance to at least not suffer the same damage as likely. So we got 3 of these pieces. I'm gonna probably just put those where I want. So, still not sure what these are. Oh, no. They're for this. That's what these are for. So these have little bolt holes, and in our little bag of screws and nuts and whatnot, there should be a very straightforward connection to clamp this on. I do want to put some kind of decal on this that represents Subaru. Maybe even all-wheel drive sticker, simple. It doesn't have to be fancy. But to even tip this off more, for this, we have two 6-inch slimline light bars. They are 950 lumen rated. Got a super great price on them. We picked up a wiring harness too. While we were at it, we already have all the tools and supplies as far as that goes. So everything we already have, we didn't purchase because it'd be stupid to buy things twice.
Alright, so now what we're doing is taking the foam and plastics off of all the parts and accessories, and we're going to assemble the whole thing and put it on the car right here. Alright, so we came across a problem here. We're missing maybe 1 or 2 screws. So George is back in the lab looking for a set of these screws right here.
You found it. Alright, so we have 2 screws, but I believe the bolt is slightly smaller. And the only thing I have that's anywhere close to that size-wise, as far as I can see, would be this. And the problem with this is you can quite clearly see the threads match. Excuse me. Well, that was luck that it just fell in. As you can see, the threads basically match. I think actually the pitch is a little different on this one, but it'd be close enough.
Alright, so what we've got here is a screwdriver that came with this Subaru brand new, and apparently the online value for this is around 80 bucks. Let me see if I can get it to focus here.
Right here is that piece of glass on the top of the sunroof that I was worried about. This is our strong set, which the good news is you can't even physically mount it on this car too far up unless you skip this up too far and it just hangs way too far forward for no reason. In terms of height and width, I'm actually really impressed with how I thought this on the ground. This looked way too wide for this roof. Not in a bad way. but this is actually literally the perfect size for this car.
Alright guys, so the camera died. Now resuming this, put a little light fixture on there, and the second one's going to go on here in a minute. And the roof rack is up. There you go. Looks pretty clean. Alright guys, it's now Sunday morning, and we're finishing up the roof rack here. Aesthetically, we've added this Subaru logo, and now we're getting to the wiring of the lights.
Yes. The Subaru logo was actually off the hood cover underneath, or the engine cover under the hood. It's just extra, and I took it out because I figured it could be used elsewhere more productively, and it seems that it turned out really nice. Right now we're just, because this mounting tape is, I'm sure you could probably custom order black mounting tape, but you know, why not get a permanent Sharpie? Hey, this guy knows what he's doing. So now, that'll blend in perfectly with the black panel that is on the car. And then, the cool thing is this piece has some curves on it and whatnot. The metal piece, per se, that helps us align it, as well as the H6 is symmetrical. And we have this little bungee cord that is perfectly parallel and level. So this one is easier to mount off the eye.
Alright, so if any of you are wondering where we got this part right here, or even the Subaru logo over here, we actually took the cover off of the engine here with all the plastic parts and whatnot, and disassembled that, took the logo off and also the badge right here, and then got a little bit of this adhesive strip stuff that we got from a Dollar Tree, and just put them on the back of these badges and just stuck them on there. With that being said, the LL Bean edition was the top of the line for this specific Subaru. And there's the engine right there.
Piece of resistance.
Alright, so the plan here is that we're going to take the power from the battery and then bring it up to these lights here, and then figure out some way to sort of snake this into the cabin so that it's protected from the weather.
Dry run to make sure everything works, and then we're going to start wiring. Because what's the point of having a light if it don't turn on?
Yep. Alright, so new problem here. Cable management.
Yeah, we gotta figure out how to get that inside the car. Stay tuned.
Alright, so we got this sort of rubber bit removed. Looking right there, those are airbags.
Things like this, you gotta investigate it. Figure out how they want to come out. See, most of the time it's as simple as that, but look first before you start ripping out. That could have been a $50 part, and you could have broken it in seconds if you didn't give yourself a little more patience and understanding on that behalf. Right now you can see the dash camera light or wire falling out a little bit. Work with. Alright, so I believe I do see the big bolt right here for the roof rail. Okay, you know what? We're not going to even drill a hole in the plastic piece. What we're going to do is just notch it. We're going to give it just a tiny notch, and that's going to allow the wires to just kind of feed through that little notch without, shouldn't create any major problems with the OEM wiring. Now it's time to go back underneath where the bolts were. Look where those bolts were going, and look at what room we have around those bolts. We are going to make a small incision for the wire to run from the hole here, which will not be exposed to the elements or anything major. We'll go ahead and hit that hole with some black Rust-Oleum. It's a matte black. It's fantastic. You won't even see it, but it'll prevent any possible ingress from rusting the roof from that hole outwards, because this is a fully painted treated panel. If we contaminate that, we could be in trouble.
That right there is the incision for the wires to run through.
This should be pretty close to perfect. What will most likely happen is if this has to be taken off for some reason, which will just be the 4 bolts for the crossbar, which is neat. These lights have plugs on them. We're going to leave that plug. If we have to cut and extend the wires ourselves, I have heat shrink, I have electrical tape, I have the proper wiring to do so, so it won't impact the functionality of the plug and play deal. That's going to be the most crucial ease of use part of this build. It's relayed and fused, so even if you turned it on by accident and the water was conductive enough to short it, it'd just blow the fuse. So you're not looking at any safety hazards or anything like that for the vehicle, which is good. What might end up happening, because these wires, I believe, both come off the exact same relay, from the same location, and it's not a split voltage. What we might do is just take that straight out, because it's probably most likely just double wired together, and use one of those wires, just a single one, to go up for power, and then have it jump over as our plug. A little more violently than I planned, but not a big deal. That's what happens when you got thin metal. Two lights. Be funny as hell. The airbags finally go off one day. All these lights are just dead because it busted through the wires when the airbag went off. wave it. Don't keep it focused on one spot. That's how you burn through wires and how you melt the jackets off. And voila. Alright guys, it's one of the final stages. We're going to disconnect our positive first. That sparking is completely normal. That is due to the very simple fact that your car is pretending like you're hooking up the battery for the first time. And that'll be plenty good. Test. And that's how you install 6-inch dual LED off-road lights / light bar lights.
Alright guys, we're getting into the car. We're gonna drive this thing around a little bit and get some rolling shots and all that stuff. Let's get right into it.